everyone, thank you so much for watching. Today I am coming to you with a different type of video. As some of my followers know, I am applying to the nursing program, and in order to do that I had to take the new T6 exam, which is the entrance exam for many ASN and BSN programs, and I passed! Woohoo! First time I passed. I'm so happy. It was so stressful. I didn't have much time to study, so I wanted to go ahead and come and try to help those out who are on the same road as me, and to give them a little bit of clarity as to the exam, how many questions, types of topics they covered, and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know what my scores were. So my total score was 74.0, and that's a cumulative. Anyways, those are all the scores combined. I received a 78.7 in my reading. My math was 87.5. My science was the lowest, and frankly, I'm personally disappointed because I really tried to focus on science, and my score did not reflect that. It was 57.4. And my English and language usage scores were 79.2. So overall, I got a 74.0, which means proficient. The national mean is 65.6%, and the all ADN programs mean is 66.1%. So I'm already above that. In order for me to apply to my program, I needed to get a 64.9% on my TEAS exam, so I exceeded that. I'm going to be going to an ASN program and then bridge over to a BSN program. Each program is different. The prereqs are different, but I'm going to go ahead and give you a rundown of the prereqs that my school says that I need in order to be able to be qualified to apply to their program. Of course, you need your basic English, math, all that good stuff. English composition 1 and 2, I believe. You just need your basic core classes. Humanities, you need a couple of those. But in order for me to be able to apply, I had to take specific science prerequisites. Their first one was microbiology, which I received a B in. It was a difficult course, but I really enjoyed it. It was very rigorous. It was very intense, lots of labs, heavy labs and tests, no homework or anything like that. It's pure labs and tests. I did receive a high B. And then Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2. For Anatomy and Physiology 1, I received a high C. That was the most difficult class I have ever taken in my life. The most difficult. It's all memorization, and to memorize 11 systems, 200 and something bones, 203, 206, something like that. I can't even remember. I've already deleted it out of my head. Well, it's in there, but it's stored for later use. All the muscles, all the pathways of the heart, what hormones, where they come from, what they do, respiratory, circulatory, reproductive, endocrine, the list goes on and on and on. And last semester I took Anatomy Physiology 2, and I got an A in that class. So it was much more in detail to the system as opposed to memorizing the parts of the body. And then I also needed 5 prerequisites with a combination of a GPA of 3.0. I needed General Psychology, which I received an A. Developmental Psychology, I also got an A in that class. And Freshman Comp 1, which I received an A. And Essentials to Nutrition and Diet Therapy, I also received an A in that. And in my Humanities course, you can take any Humanities you'd like. I also received an A in that. I am not the type of person that can look at something and remember it. I have to study, and I have to see it, and I have to look at it, and I have to apply it somewhere where it makes sense to me. I'm a visual learner. I have to see it, understand how it works, and continue seeing it in order for my brain to retain that knowledge. So it's super important to learn what type of learner you are, because that's going to ultimately be how you study. What else did I need to do? my little guide here. I needed an overall GPA of 3.0, which I got for my undergrad transfer work. And the T's I needed a 64.9 to pass, which I received. Let's go ahead and go into the T's a little bit more. This is my T's exam paper that they give you after you take the test. The first section is 47 items, and it's reading. The passages are lengthy, so be prepared to read the passage as thoroughly as you can, but as quickly as you can, because time is of the essence. There's 47 questions, 22 are key ideas and details, 14 are crafts and structure, and 11 is integration of knowledge and ideas. I received an 81.8% for key ideas and details, 85.7% for craft and structure, and a 72.7% for integration of knowledge and ideas. Don't underestimate this section. This section is meant to not trick you, but you really have to look into the details. There's going to be several right answers, but there's going to be a right answer that is better than the answer that, you know, could potentially be the correct answer. So you really have to read through the passages slowly and understand the format of the paragraph, the details, the topic, the conclusion. I mean, really hone into the structure of the essay or paragraph or passage that you're reading. Understand it, because it's going to ask you structure, and it's going to ask you things like, what is the main idea? What supporting details help the main idea or support the main idea? Identify specific information from printed communication. So it's going to ask you, like, let me see. It's going to ask you things like, trying to find a good example. It's going to ask you to identify the main idea. It's going to ask you to the topic and summary of a certain paragraph. It's going to ask you to, if it's fact or opinion, which sentence out of the 4 is an opinion. It's also going to ask you things like, what's a narrative? What's an expository? What is a technical passage? Personification, that was on there. The purpose of the author and what's their position. If it's persuasive writing or informational text. What else? Know the different sources, like index, table of contents, what is a thesaurus, what is a glossary, what is a dictionary, encyclopedia. You have to know all that stuff. What evidence best supports the main idea. Things like that. It's also going to have some like graphing, where it's going to ask you to pull information from the graph. And like I said, there's going to be several right answers, but there's going to be one that is like the answer. Organizational information. Definitely, it's not hard, it's just intensive, because you're reading these passages and it's going fast. The time is ticking, so you just have to be very aware of your time, how much time you're taking on each passage, but don't skim. Just read each passage for what it is. Read it once, and if you need to go back, you can quickly go back because you've already read it once and you know where that specific question, what it's asking, and where to go to get the answer. So yeah, reading score wasn't too bad. It was 78.7. I really thought I was going to get a better grade than that because I'm really proficient in reading and English usage, but like I said, this is a T6, so it's a little tougher. It's very competitive, so you got to know your stuff. So for math, I got 87.5, which I have no idea how, because math is my worst subject by far, math has been the hardest subject in my entire educational career. Math and me just don't get along. It confuses me. I see numbers and it just confuses me. But there are 32 items, I believe. 36 items. Okay, so let's go back. There's 53 items for the reading. 47 are scored, and the rest are for the next version. So they're giving questions for potential use for the next version of the T's. And you have 64 minutes. So reading is 64 minutes. There's 53 questions, and 47 of them are scored. For mathematics, it's 54 minutes, 36 questions, and 32 are scored. Like I said, I got an 87. I received a 95.7 in numbers and algebra. No idea how. Measurements and data, I got a 66.7. There were quite a few measurements and data. There was 9, and the rest were algebra and numbers. The measurements and data, know how to convert. You're going to be asked to convert a lot of stuff. You're going to be solving real-world problems involving proportions. Know how to do proportions. That is the only way you are going to be able to get through the algebra portion. You have to know your proportions, or at least a workaround not involving proportions. Sorry guys, I had to go check my what do you call it? Okay. Sorry guys, my camera just stopped, so I needed to turn it back on. But anyways, let's go ahead and get back to the mathematics portion. Know how to multiply and divide fractions and percentages. You're gonna have to know absolute value. I did have one question that was absolute value. Your basic adding, subtracting, and multiplication. You're going to have a number line, and it's going to tell you like the distance between the points. Know how to find the distance between the points when you are given a certain amount of information. Like from A to C, it's 50 millimeters. From A to D, it's 70 millimeters. How much space is between A and B? Things like that. Know how to multiply fractions. That's a big one. Solving equations with one variable, that is a big one as well. Common denominators, know how to find that, because you're going to have a lot of that. Proportions, I cannot stress that. You're going to have a lot of word problems. Know how to pick the appropriate information to make a proportion out of the word problem. What is like 150% of 20? Super basic. It's not hard because let me tell you, math is not my thing, and I got an 87. I have no idea how. None whatsoever. Ratios. You're gonna have a few of those. I didn't have any slope. I did have find the area of a triangle. It gives you the formula, so you just have to plug in the numbers. Greater and less than or equal to, you're going to have a few of those. Interpreting data, so it's going to give you like a chart and you have to interpret the data. It's going to ask you a question. You're going to have some pie charts and some line charts, definitely brush up on that. And I'll go ahead and give you the information to the book that I've used. You're definitely going to have linear equations or linear plots or negative, positive. It's going to ask you if it's linear, if it's positive, if it's negative. So you gotta know how to do that. The mean. You're going to have to find the mean to a question. So know how to do that. I had something of a sector of a portion of a circle. You're going to have one question on that. At least I had that. So a sector of a portion of a circle. Definitely know how to do that. What else? What else? What else? The area of a triangle or a cube. I think I had a cube. I didn't have any of these scale drawings. Nope, no coordinate planes or anything like that. Note how to do your conversions. Centimeters to centimeters, centimeters to meters, inches to yards, inches to feet, feet to yards. How many pounds are in 6 kilograms? How many pounds are in 80 ounces? Things like that. You're gonna have to know your conversion units. And measurement conversion, you're gonna have to find write the ratio conversion for a proportion or a fraction. Definitely need to know that. What else did they have? So yeah, math was pretty straightforward. You either know it or you don't. So if you don't know it, take your best guess. What I did for my guesses is I picked C for every guess. If I had no clue what it was, I picked C. That was my default. We're going to go ahead and go into the hardest section, which is science. For science, you have the most time. I believe it is, tell you how many questions. It is 63 minutes, 53 questions, and 47 are scored. 32 of them are anatomy and physiology. For some reason it seemed more than that. 8 of them are life and physical science, and 7 is scientific reasoning. I received 68.8% in anatomy and physiology, 62.5% in life and physical science, and 51.1% in scientific reasoning. Do not underestimate this section. This section is hard. It is hard, and it's specific. It's not general questions. It is super specific. It's going to ask you, this vitamin or this mineral aids in the function of this organ. So you have to be able to know that. It's super specific. When I mean specific, I thought it was going to be what's the pathway to the heart? Or what's the pathway of the heart's function? No, I did not have that question. You may, so know the pathway to the heart, regardless. You're going to have to describe anatomy and physiology of the GI system, immune system, endocrine system, the genitourinary system, the physiology of a human, the general anatomy of a human, anatomy and physiology of the respiratory system, and the physiology of the gastrointestinal system. So you're going to have to know all that stuff. All of it. It also asks you how many systems in the body are there. There's 11, so keep that number in your head. For life sciences, it says describe chemical reactions, recognize basic atomic structure, explain characteristics and properties of a substance. I did have one chemistry balancing question, so know how to balance a chemistry question. Super easy. Google it, YouTube it. The resources are out there. There's no reason why you shouldn't pass. The resources are there. If you use them, you'll be fine. So let's go to the science section. Know the phosphobilayer of a cell. Know the parts of a cell, like the nucleus, the DNA, the chromosomes, the chromatin, the nuclear envelope, the pores, the nucleoplasm, the cell membrane, the plasma membrane. What is the cell membrane made of? Phospholipid bilayer. Protein transport. Definitely know that. The rough ER, endoplasmic reticulum. What else? The cell structure. What do all cells have in common? Meiosis definitely is on there. I didn't have much on cell cycle. Didn't have much on mitosis, but meiosis and mitosis go hand in hand, so make sure you know both of them and the difference between them. Tissues. What types of tissues? The skin, the layers of the skin was on there. Let's see. Red and white blood cells, what they are and how they differ. You're going to have to know some stuff about the heart. It's going to ask you, like, what structure of the heart sends blood to muscles and organs. Cardiac cycle. I would know that anyways, because you're going to have to know it anyway. So just know that, you know, the superior inferior vena cava goes to the right atrium, to the left ventricle, through the mitral valve, or the pulmonary artery, excuse me, through the pulmonary to the blood, and then it returns to the heart, to the left atrium, into the left ventricle via the mitral valve, and aortic valve to the aorta. So know all of that. The types of circulation. I didn't have anything on blood pressure. Know what the spleen is, the lymphatic system. Definitely going to have questions on that. Liver. Not sure if I had anything on liver or not. You just go through all your systems. A neuron. Know what it is and their function. Definitely in there. Know enzymes and hormones. Don't remember anything on skeletal muscle. Maybe there was something on skeletal muscle. Maybe one question. So go ahead and review that. There was some on the reproductive system, like a zygote. What is a zygote? Definitely there. The layers of skin, like I said before, sebaceous glands and versus sweat glands, and where the sebaceous sebum is where it comes from which layer of the skin. What else did we have? Didn't ask me anything about the bones. Antigen and immune response. Definitely know that. Passive and active immunity. It's going to ask you, it's going to give you something and say, what type of immunity is this? Think vaccines. Yes, compact and spongy bone. It's going to ask you some questions about that. Where is the blood formed? And you have to answer where it's formed within the bone. Remember, there's different kinds of bone. I think I had something about lipids. Yes, I did. Enzymes, definitely. Proteins, yes. DNA, know what DNAs are. Know the DNA replication. You're going to have to know, like, 5 to 3, 3 to 5. Replace A to T and C to G. Know how to do that. Know RNA as well. Genotype and phenotype and allele, recessive and dominant. Know that as well. It's going to give you a Punnett square, or actually you're going to have to make your own Punnett square and figure out if so-and-so has these two parents that have these genes, and these, you know, is it heterozygous? Is it homozygous? What are the odds of him having blue eyes or green eyes or whatever? Okay, so you are going to have to know how to, like the structure of an atom. It's going to ask some questions about electrons and protons, atomic mass, atomic number. So it's going to ask about bonding, like what type of bonding it is, covalent or ionic, or ions. My camera keeps dying on me. Okay, so you're going to have some questions on units of measurements, so make sure you go through that, like deca, hecto, kilo, mega, deci, centi, milli, micro, nano, pico. You don't need to know pico. I think I had one question on lab glassware. Scientific inquiry. Definitely know how to, what is a scientific statement, scientific method. What's a controlled variable? What's an independent variable? What's a dependent variable? Know the differences between all of that. And yeah, I think that's it for the science portion. For the English portion, I believe, I want to make sure I'm giving you guys all the right information. For the English portion, you have 28 minutes and 28 questions. So this is the fastest 28 minutes of your life. And there's 24 scored items. The first section is about conventions of standard English. There's 9 questions on that. Knowledge of language, 9 questions on that. Vocabulary acquisition, 6 questions of that. I received a 77.8 in conventions of English language, which includes the conventions of standard English spelling. There was quite a lot of questions on spelling, so know how to spell words that are weird, like receive, inconvenience. These are the words that were on there, just what I can remember. Just, I before E except C, things like that. The next one is a vocabulary acquisition. I received a 66.7. This is determining the meaning of a word by analyzing word parts. I thought I did really well on this, and I didn't, so don't underestimate the test. Use context clues to determine the meaning and words of the phrases. So it's going to give you a sentence. I'm going to say what word best describes what the meaning of this word is, and it's a word you probably never ever heard before, and you have to try to figure out what the meaning is. And what else? Vocabulary acquisition, analyzing, okay, the words. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through my book, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to try to help you guys out. Okay, spelling. Know how to spell. Words that contain IE or EI. Words that contain IZE. A lot of this is memorization. You're gonna have just different words. It's gonna ask you like which one is the correct spelling. Yeah, commonly misspoke words. There's a lot of them, and I bet you that we all misspell them on occasion. Know what first person, second person, third person is. Know what specific nouns are. Know what verbs and pronouns are. Linking and action verbs. Active and passive, present and past. Subject verb agreement. That is a big one. Adverbs, know what those are. Adjectives, know what those are. And be able to identify them within a sentence. What else? Subordinating junctions. Know what those are. Like after, although, because. Commas. It's going to ask you like where a comma should be placed, or which sentence out of all these sentences is the correct one, has the correct punctuation. And like I said, they're gonna look all the same, but you have to find the difference and see which one doesn't, or see which one does belong and the others don't. So use process of elimination. Definitely use that. Quotation marks. Does the comma go before the quotation mark or after the quotation mark? Know how to apostrophes, where they go. Subject and predicates, know that as well. Capitalization, you want to know that, capitalization of countries, of days of the week, of titles, books and movies, things like that. Know how to subject verb agreement is a big one, you guys, so know how to do that. Pronoun usage, definitely know how to identify pronouns. And a sentence fragment, it's going to give you like a fragmented sentence. It's going to ask you to how would you put the sentence together for it not to be a fragment. Double negatives. There's going to be some questions that will have, which sentence is correct punctuation out of all of them. And there's going to be some that may have a double negative within, so just eliminate those. Modifiers. Know what a modifier is. Transitional words. Points of view. Cause and effect. Definitely know that. Contextual clues. Go through that and know how to identify what a meaning of a word is. Synonyms and antonyms. Prefixes. You're going to have prefixes on there as well, so know your prefixes. I don't think I have anything on suffix, but brush up because, you know, I got different questions and you're going to get different questions. So, yeah, it was a hard test, and I only had about 4 days to study. I studied for about 6 hours every day, and my main source was the ATIT Secret and YouTube and Khan Academy, and also, what else did I use? I used other stuff, but I can't remember. I'll try to link it below. I also did purchase Test A from the ATI people themselves. I wanted to see what the test was going to be like, and unfortunately, I don't think they've updated their testing, because the test did not look anything like the test that I took. The one that I purchased for, what was it, 43 bucks, 46 bucks, something like that. It is similar, but it's not exactly the same. So you are given a calculator, just a basic, you know, calculator, nothing fancy. But there was a set of questions, like five to six questions on one page, and you would go through those questions and hit next. With the test that you purchase from ATI, it's one question at a time. So, and it's not timed. So it's a little different. It looks a little different, but the questions are very, very similar. They are not the same. So don't, you know, buy the test and study those questions, because they are not the same. It's going to be different. But the structure of the test is very similar. Do I think it helped me? Yeah, I think it helped me. Just to see, you know, what I was weakest on. I did score a 71 the first time and an 84 the second time. You can take it twice, but what I did was I created a notebook. This was my study notebook, and I wrote down everything that I felt I was weak in, and I just wrote it all out. And like I said, I'm a visual person, so DNA, what it is, the sequence of DNA, a sugar, the phosphate, the nucleotide, it's a double helix, you know, just things like this is the pathway to the heart. Like, I need to see it in order to know it. So I drew a heart and I drew arrows and what each thing was. Enzymes, what they are, what they do, where they come from, things like that. So anything that I felt like I was weak on, like the brain and the nervous system, you're going to have something on this, on the nervous system. So yeah, that's what I did. Balancing an equation. I found equations online and I balanced them myself. I just practiced and practiced until I got it. Covalent bonding. So like I did a review section, I did PEMDAS, you know, what do you do first? Parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Remember the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, area circumference, ounces to pounds. I just wrote down everything that I needed to learn, and I just went over it and looked at questions in order to try to come to, you know, make sure that I was at least had a knowledge base of what it was. I did practice questions. I did all the practice questions in the ATIT Secrets book. In the back there are tons of questions, and you go through and you do the test, and at the end there's the answers, and that way you can see what you're weakest on and focus on that. It's a hard test, you guys, so make sure you're prepared. It's expensive. It's 65 bucks, so you want to go in there and make sure that you pass. And that's the best advice I can give you, is just go in prepared and don't forget the details. It's all in the smallest details. This test is meant to give you multiple potential answers, but there's one that's better. So that is my experience with the T's. If you want me to go ahead and go through each section in more detail, I'd be more than happy to do that. Just give this video a thumbs up, and then leave a comment below of which section you'd like to see, and I can go through the section and we can get through this together, you guys. I'm excited. I've applied for the program. I will know in about 6 weeks if I've gotten in. I am nervous, I am excited, I am all of the above, and I'm just ready. It's been such a long process for me. Such a long process. If you guys want to know more about that, I'd be happy to give you guys a video as well. Any questions, leave them down below. I encourage you guys to help each other, and if you have resources that I may have missed, leave them down below in the comments. And yeah, I wish you guys all the best of luck, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!